Welcome back to the New York Gun Guys podcast. My name is John.
My name's Taylor.
We have Steven. I messaged Steven and I told him to come. And
Good. It's nice to have him here today.
Guys, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, NYGunGuys, all one word. Check us out on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and like all those other like tiny little podcasts.
Yeah, any
things,
random podcast app you might have. If you have Android, we're probably on there.
Yeah, probably. And if we're not, then you could let us know, but no one ever lets us know, so I'm assuming everybody who wants
everybody
to listen
finds
has
us
found
everywhere.
We have like 440 something likes on our Facebook page,
Yes.
which is cool. And I don't know. I never thought we'd get past like 100 likes.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't know who'd want to listen to us, but that's that's the truth.
Yeah.
So we have a guest here today.
Yes, we do.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yo, what the fuck is up, Denny's? What's up?
How'd I know? It's
Yeah.
just gonna start like that. Okay.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, what's up? My name's Don. How's it going, guys?
Hello. Welcome, Don.
So, Don, I don't want to say too much because I don't know, what I can and cannot say.
Yeah.
So if you want to give us the lowdown,
Yeah, tell us about yourselves. Tell us about your background, your history, etc.
Don, obviously from Long Island. Known both of you for quite a while.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Don is a friend of mine, and we've been wanting to have him on the podcast because of what he does for a living and what he did in the past. And I think we could get some really good insight, especially related to firearms training, kind of mindset in a way. So he's here today so we could pick his brain with some stuff. So Don, tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you used to do, what you do currently, and anything else you want to say.
So you want the lore?
Yeah, the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We go way back a little bit in a different life. I was once upon a time in the Army. I was a captain and a company commander. So obviously I love this country, right? And then
Yes.
Thank you for your service.
You got it, yeah.
As we all do.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. No, I'm just kidding.
There's no communists here.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
So I did the military thing for a while, and I still wanted to serve the country.
And you were also deployed as well, right?
I did. I went to Afghanistan in 2013.
Okay.
Beautiful Afghanistan. 10-month paid vacation. It was great.
All beach but no ocean.
Yeah. Don't go there. It's a shithole. Surprise. Spoiler alert. It's
Spoiler
fucking
alert.
hot.
Yeah.
And very
Anybody
humid.
who might be thinking of going there on vacation, he'll give you the lowdown. It's hot and it sucks.
It sucks.
He'll
man.
tell you where
Don't
the good
go there.
hotels are.
Yeah, there's none. You want to lay in a fucking like shitty cot in like a wooden bee hut when
Yeah.
they're shooting like indirect fire at you for 10 months? It's great. And then, so I did the Army thing for almost 5 years, active, joined the reserves. Don't do that either. It's great, right, to serve the country, but just going from like active to reserve land, it's night and day difference,
I
right?
mean, you're fucking real about it. Like some people be like, "Yeah, go do this." It's like, no, it's based on your experience. You're like, listen,
He just goes, don't do that either.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
don't do the first part, but definitely don't do the second part either.
There's pros and cons to everything, right? And whatever you do in life, it's what you make of it. I enjoyed being in the military, but now that I'm out of active duty, I'm definitely more happy now. Because at the end of the day, you give up some rights, right? When you join the military, so like just wanting to go on leave is a pain in the ass. I felt like 90 packets, and especially like right now with all this Corona crap or whatever. Like it's a process, so you can't just like be a human being sometimes.
Yeah, and then you would get called like randomly. It's like, oh, I got to go to this middle of the nowhere for like 2 weeks to do some training, even though you're in like reserves or something.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
So yeah, so when I went to reserve land, right, going from active reserves, full-time soldier to extremely part-time soldier, and I was used to like being high speed, right, and actually working for a living when I was at Upper Fort Drum because I was in 10th Mountain, and then reserves, right, like they see each other 2 days a month in a drill center. They don't work. They literally just play on their cell phone. So what you're doing right now, that is literally what they do for 2 days.
Turning
right?
off the heat because it is fucking hot.
Yeah, it's a little spicy up here.
Yeah.
And then like,
Well, there's a lot of man up here right now.
there's
so
a lot.
just-
I am here, guys. So lots of testosterone. You're not used to having an alpha male here. I get it.
Yeah. We just usually have Taylor.
Yeah. and-
Thanks.
Beta.
I'm just relaxed.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So yes, like in reserve land, right? They don't work, and then they have to go to AT, right? Annual training, like once a year for 2 weeks. And the first year, like, I just felt when I left Fort Drum and went to reserve land, I didn't have to go, or I somehow like snuck my way out of it because of my civilian job I had at the time. Second year, I could not fucking get out of it. So they made me go to like fucking, was it Fort Knox for 2 weeks? And it just shocked me, like what they consider like actual training there. So yeah, so I did that. I'm luckily pretty much out of the reserve now. So.
Nice.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, it's great. Like you want to serve the country. I love it. I did it right for 8 years altogether. But now I'm I work for the
He's a federal law enforcement.
Yeah, I'm in
agent.
exactly. I'm in federal law enforcement now, so still serving the country in different capacity.
Right.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be happier, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, we're not going to go into too much into specifics with certain things, but yeah, you're a federal law enforcement agent. And given your military kind of training experience and now combined with your federal law enforcement training and knowledge base, real life, real world experience, I thought it would be good to have you on to talk about certain things.
Yeah.
And
like one of the things we spoke about when we spoke about like I guess kind of with in a past episode with what I do, we talked about like, everyday carry, our duty weapons and things like that. So I don't know if you can shed some light on that.
Yeah.
If you're allowed, I don't know.
yeah, just we'll get into the specific of what I carry every day, but I'll be general about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then what else did you want to?
basically, yeah. On a regular day for your job, what do you have on you basically in general?
Yeah, I carry I carry cuffs on me, obviously.
Okay.
And I carry my service weapon, my Glock.
Okay.
Sure. And I'm assuming that's like similar to what you carry off duty.
Yeah, I carry
if you do carry.
if I'm not like going to a bar
Right.
or like the gym, my Glock's on me 24/7.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Now, did you have another choice of a service weapon aside from a Glock, or was that just that's it? That's what you're getting?
No, I think almost all federal agencies now, and don't fact check me on this because it's not fast accurate, but I think most of them now have switched over to the Glock.
Okay. Unless you're an older person and you had something previously.
You get grandfathered or no?
The what?
Did you get grandfathered in if you had like an older service weapon?
If you've been on for a
to
long
a
time.
point, but even like I think back in the day, like some had like 1911s and shit. Those are like if you have that now, you're probably retired.
Right.
So now everyone like they're just different levels of Glock, right? Like if you had a 22, now they're making you get a fucking 26 or 19 or 43 now.
Yeah, it's all 9mm as opposed to 40 cal.
And I mean that's easy, right? Because 9mm is very. Everyone has like 9mm. You don't have to have like 40 and 9mm because you go to range, and some people don't know the difference between a 40 and 9mm, right?
Right.
And you're trying to put 40 through a 9. Yeah.
Right.
You're gonna break. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Now, your Glock, do you have it set up with anything? Is it just a pretty bone stock Glock, or do you have like a light on it, different sights, or is it just pretty much stock?
It's not stock for our federal agency.
Okay.
I'm not gonna get into the specifics as I go with it, but no, it's just no one in the feds put sights on their Glock.
Like aftermarket sights. It's just that's how they,
No.
they
You have
issue
night
it.
sights on it, or
Yeah,
no?
we have the Marigold sights,
okay.
which I love.
Right.
Okay.
It's easier when we do night shoots. We have to do that like once a year, right? So
Okay, that's cool.
That's awesome. See, we don't do that.
Mm.
We don't give fucking. They just assume that you could. I mean, they probably just assume we can't shoot anyway.
they give you a flashlight too, because I mean, when we do like night shoots, you practice with the flashlight, and then you kind of also just without the flashlight shooting with the Marigold sights, kind of not dark, like dusk, right?
Is the flashlight attached to the handgun, or is it separate?
So both.
Okay.
They gave us. I should take a picture of the flashlight they gave us to attach to our Glock, which goes on the bottom. So I mean, like, and the button's right here. So when you're drawn out, you can just press it with your thumb.
Okay.
And just not leave it on, but like flick it real quick. And then they give us, you can just hold a flashlight. I mean,
Yeah. When I went through my academy, we did one like night shoot basically in like it was like in a building.
Yeah.
And they just turned off the lights.
Just turn off the lights.
Yeah. They had like a red light.
Was it? Do you guys use live ammo? Or
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It was all live ammo.
You guys are shooting to like rubber walls.
I mean, they had targets.
Okay.
But I mean, it wasn't anything special.
Right, but it was still like a live shoot house, right? So
Yeah.
the average person doesn't get to do that, so that's still pretty cool, right?
Yeah, I don't get to do that.
Even when I was in the army, like the amount of paper. That's the difference between the army and what I do now. Like in the military, like to do a live shoot actual ammo, like in a house, like a shoot house, or even out of range. It takes mounds of paperwork, and they need a battalion commander or brigade commander, like way up to say yes, because there's like a certain amount of risk, right?
Sure.
And someone needs to sign off it in case you get hurt or shot or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now in like law enforcement, you can even say this, right? Like, all right, we're training today. We're gonna go shoot inside a house, right? Like that's it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't need my boss's boss to say, all right, you guys have fun shooting. Be careful.
Yeah, I was never able to shoot in a house. So we never did like a moving course of like clearing houses, clearing rooms or anything like that. Not with live fire. We did that, just with like, mock guns and shit like that. We did do a kind of like a one-on-one. I think you guys probably did this too, where we shot like sim ammunition at each other.
Yeah.
Which was very cool. But you know what? Like you guys don't really like. You don't wear any like special protection, right? Like maybe a cup or whatever.
I didn't. I mean, they warned us.
Yeah.
But I was like, "Nah, I'll be fucking fine." I was like shoving my sweatshirt down my crotch the day of.
Dude, they used to do it where like there was like no protection for us, and then like enough people complained where they like suit you up with shit. Like, I don't think you really have to wear anything, but like they kind of make it so you have to. But you do get to shoot at each other with fucking sim ammunition, which is cool.
Now, speaking of training, I guess this is a question for both of you, but more directed to our friend here, Don. Is there anything that you see out in, let's just say, on the internet or in the world where like a training myth or something that people do training wise and you're like, oh, that's so bad, or that's not really how it should be done, or is it not applicable to real world situations?
Yeah, I don't really look on the internet for that stuff.
Okay.
But while we're on the topical subject, you guys see that video of 10th Mountain, like at the 4 drum guys, like clearing rooms the other day with live ammo?
No.
It was, so they had like 2 or 3 squads going through like an actual like shoot house.
Right.
And they were doing CQB, right? Close quarter ballistics. And like 4 guys went through a room. They were pieing the corners. Then they were looking in the next room. And then I shit you not, like an actual, like another squad, like literally walked through them as they were pointing weapons to the room, right? So they're just flagging each other. And then they proceeded to clear rooms like this and then fire live ammo at targets, right?
Damn.
So like, this is like, it was an infantry unit, right? It wasn't like anyone in the cab, like the pilots doing that or like logistic dudes.
Yeah.
So like,
So people that maybe probably should have known better.
yeah. So like, who the fuck thought that was a good idea? And remember, like before they went through a live shoot house, they do like glass houses, right? Where they just set up rope and practice this. So like, how many fucking like first sergeants commanders saw them do this? Like, you guys are doing a great job.
Right.
And then like they did a live shoot house and luckily no one was hurt.
Yeah.
Right.
But then like obviously it went up on like the Army's version of fail clips.
Ooh.
And then the other day, like the command sergeant major of 4 Drum 10th Mountain was like, yeah, we fucked up.
Whoa.
So I mean, like everyone saw it now. So
Yeah.
I saw that the other day and I'm
Yeah.
like, that'd be the quickest way to get like fired.
That's rough.
Like now and like what we do, like
Yeah.
flagging people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'll never forget the dealing with, with working in the city and shit. Like a lot of those recruits like have never even seen a gun, let alone like held one or fired one. So like the first day that they actually like gave you your gun and you opened it up and you had it in your hand, like this is like the first time people have ever like been that close to a gun. And I'll never forget, they like tell you, they're like going through it all, like, okay, like the safe direction in this room is to point the gun up, all this shit, right? Like really holding your hand through it. And they're like teaching you how to rack it, 4 fingers over the slide and rack it. And I'll never forget, like 3 rows in front of me, there's there's somebody and they like just have the gun in their hand and they're racking it right into the back of the head of like another. I mean, there was no ammo or anything like that, but like it's just like the whole like idea. It's like, wow, like you could fucking die in the academy at the fucking range. People have been shot at our range.
Oh
before.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
So it happens, but it's just like one of those things that's always stuck. Still always stuck with me. Like, damn, like that's why when you see like when the NYPD gets into shootings, like they tend not to hit anything. I mean, it's well documented.
Yeah,
they fire 40 rounds and then they missed
It's
everyone,
usually like they fire a lot and then like ESU like fires 1 round and takes the guy down.
Yeah,
which God bless them, that's what they're there for. But
I mean, that's a full-time job though. I mean, like
right. So and it's just like you have to remember that like a lot of these people have no experience, and then they shoot their qualifier. A lot of them like just barely pass, and then for another 6 months, like they're just there and they never touch their gun, just sits in their holster.
They don't go to the range by themselves, probably, right?
Probably not, especially now.
With
but it's
ammo
so
being the
hard
way
to
it is.
shoot in the city anyway. Like you have to like they like have specific ranges and like they're probably a lot of them are probably closed with coronavirus and all this shit. And you can go
a lot of indoor ranges,
right? And you can go through the department, but they kind of make it difficult, and it's kind of so it's. It doesn't lend itself.
People
to being
hope that
helpful.
they don't have to use their guns, so they don't really think about it.
Right.
Which is the worst possible
Right,
answer, right? You
right.
should always assume you're gonna have to use it someday.
How often do you have to qualify, Don? How often do you have to train?
Well, mandatory, it's once a quarter.
Okay.
But
So
I go
basically
more than
that
once a quarter.
Yeah.
And then pre-corona, right? We would go to the range often, right?
Yeah. Don and we've all been to the range together. And yeah, Don is very good at what he does.
I'm a 15 and in. I'm not gonna miss.
Yeah.
25 and out.
Well,
maybe.
practically speaking, I mean, most handgun engagements happen at 15 or in. Or
No, statistically for law enforcement, or maybe just federal law enforcement, I can't speak for local guys, but it's like 7 yards and in. That's where 99% of the shootings happen. Yeah. And then 7 yards and in, most people miss all their shots still, right? Because adrenaline's going.
Yeah, sure.
You either overgrip your weapon or you're just whipping the trigger.
Right. That makes sense.
Well, these are things like I was saying earlier. It's like real world versus like what you might see on the internet or what might be kind of like myths or training lore. Like the fact is, like I'm more applicable to like real world scenarios. Like so, 7 yards and in, you have to know really. Like you were saying earlier off mic, it's all about repetition and familiarization with your weapon. So if you know, okay, you could draw it. Your finger needs to be where it needs to be to place an accurate shot. Or if you can't extend your weapon, like where is your body pointing? Like just training and muscle memory kind of kicks in at that point.
And we can go into that now. It's fine. If I could give any advice to anyone that wants to get into weapons or just being familiar or anything, it is repetition because like when we went through our academy and our training, we fired like over 5,000 rounds, which is a lot, right?
Damn.
Right.
I don't think it's the most. There's probably some other agencies that fire more rounds, but the amount of we fired, we spent 4 or 5 hours a day for 3 or 4 days a week just practicing, right? Because it's what John already said too, right? Like some people had never touched a weapon before, so how are you gonna get them familiar with it? Just make them use the weapon, right?
Use it,
So just practice makes perfect, right?
Right.
And Taylor, you just mentioned it too, right? So, right, they give you a weapon, right? A Glock, whatever, doesn't matter. You should practice it all the time. So obviously you're not going to be like shooting off rounds in your house, right? But you can make sure your magazine's out. There's no rounds in the weapon.
Right, dry fire.
And you can just dry fire because that's the best thing you can do, right? Because knowing like your trigger press is probably one of the most important things for a couple of reasons, right? One, because the Glocks now, right, they have a tension point where you can like release the slack and then you push it a little more, right, the weapon's going to go off. So just knowing where that is. So after you fire, you automatically go back to the tension. And then just having a nice steady trigger press. When you're aiming your weapon, your round will probably go where it wants to go, right? Versus if you like whip the trigger a little bit, you're going to pull your rounds. And then if you're grabbing it too hard, you're definitely going to fucking miss.
Also knowing
Never want to grab it too hard.
Yeah, it goes both ways, guys.
Also knowing like what kind of gun is right for you. Like certain people, a gun might not fit them, might be too big or too small. So having something that fits you well and that you can manage will allow you to shoot more effectively.
That's another great point, right? So like when they give you your weapon, you can get like the back strap. It can be small, medium, large based on the size of your hand. Or you can just go up a different Glock, right? They have the 43, the 26, the 19, the 17. Those are the ones these days that are popular. So if you have tiny hands, you probably shouldn't be shooting 17.
Right. Yeah, that's a pretty big one.
Yeah, and then if you have giant hands, the 43. I mean, no. Because even if you get the extended mag or the 43X, it's going to be too tiny.
Well, the 43, the grip is really slim, so it kind of wants to move a little bit in your hands.
It's single stack.
Does your agency allow you to pick from several different types?
Yeah, you can. So as long as you can have whatever the current Glock is for my agency, you can have as many of them as you want. The only thing is you'll just once a quarter, you have to shoot with one of them. And then before the whole year's up, you have to shoot all of them to make sure you're still proficient.
Okay.
But you can have, like, if you want to carry a 43 or the 26 off duty, right? That makes sense because they're easily concealable.
Right.
And then if you go on a rest, you want a bigger Glock, right? That makes sense.
More capacity.
Yeah, more capacity, more stopping power, whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What other weapons did you train with in your academy? Did they get you familiar with anything?
The shotgun, which is phased out now for a lot of federal programs, but it wasn't yet. So we got it for 2 or 3 days. We just fired, like a lot of buck, a lot of slugs.
What kind of, was it a semi-automatic, a pump? Do you remember what kind it was?
It was a pump.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like a Mossberg, Remington?
It was probably Remington.
Okay.
I forget now because it's been like, over 2 years or something. But
like that,
but I mean, that was fun. It was also fun too because the shotgun was getting phased out. So it was just familiarization.
It's kind of funny. We spoke in a previous episode about shotguns and how I always prefer a pump over a semi-auto.
I bet you do.
And well, yeah, who doesn't like a good pump every now and then? Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
he comes quick.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, got to do what you got to do. But
winning's winning.
Yeah. But I always prefer the pump action shotgun over a semi-automatic, just because I think for reliability and for just manual of arms, it's a lot easier rather than having to worry about, okay, is the gas system on this gun going to work with this ammunition, or is it an inertia-driven system? So a pump action, in real-world training situations, I think is always better than a semi, but, to each their own, I suppose.
The shotgun's good too, right? Because the idea, they used to use shotguns for close quarter or breaching or room clearing. And I mean, you hit someone with a shotgun round, right? They're going to go down. It's going to do a lot of work. But most people now, or most agencies, and even law enforcement in general, they swapped over, right, from the shotgun or what the hell they used to use? I forget. But now, I mean, everyone's going to M4s now, right? And the M4 is like it's been the flavor of the month forever.
So you also train with an M4?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm obviously military,
right?
M16, M4, depending what unit I was in and how much money they had. They had either or, right? So, and even in college, right, when I was doing ROTC way back in the day, we always had M16s, or even like my dad had his own M16, like a pre-ban one.
Yeah.
So I've always been familiar with M16, M4.
Okay.
And now M4 is the choice of weapon for room clearing.
Right. One thing I was going to ask you, because a lot of people bring this up, is I don't know if it's myth or fact. If you are clearing a room with an M4, do you have to worry about over penetration with a 5.56 round? Like people say, oh, it'll go through your wall, the house, the neighbor's wall. I mean, what's kind of the facts behind that if you know?
I mean, it depends. It's going through sheetrock, right? Like no problem.
Yeah, it'll go through sheetrock.
It's going through house, no problem. It's going
Right.
through thin metal, no problem.
Right.
It's not gonna go through concrete, right? Concrete will
No,
stop like
right.
a 5.56 or 2.23.
Right.
But it's, I mean, you fucking fire a goddamn 5.56 round so goddamn fast, right? So
Right. Well, the thing with the 5.56, it's a very light mass bullet. So once it hits something, that energy that it has, the little energy that it has, often just dissipates. So it'll go through one barrier, maybe into another one, but the myth of just radical over-penetration where it's going to sail into your neighbor's house might not really be true.
I don't think that's true at all.
Right.
But
And when it hits...
it will go through some plywood, probably more than one round.
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
plywood. But that energy is lost very quickly as opposed to a larger, heavier round like a slug, like a shotgun slug or something like that. So switching from the shotgun to the M4, I guess it allows the operator, the law enforcement officer, a lot more flexibility. It's a lighter weapon, low recoil, higher round capacity, ability. It's more modular. You could kind of set it up how you want. And that was one thing I was going to ask you is, you see the AR-15 is a very popular civilian weapon nowadays, semi-automatic. You guys, do you run semi-automatic or full automatic?
Semi-auto.
Okay, so
they do the some
guys have it.
no, I mean most of us, all of us regular guys have semi-auto, but the tier 1 dudes, they probably have the 3-shot burst.
Okay.
So theirs are probably a little modified. Don't quote me on that, but I think some, if not most of them, can do the 3-shot burst.
No, that's fine. I mean, a lot of people say that full auto is a waste of, you know.
It is, because I
yeah.
mean, what's better, accurately firing one round at a time in a steady pace,
Right.
or just right?
Yeah,
Come
most
on.
people wouldn't be able to control that anyway.
No, yeah.
And
I
it's
mean,
not.
And also, right, normally when you fire, you're gonna fire a 5.56 round at one person, and you hit them, they're going down, right?
Right.
You don't need like 90 follow-ups. It's not like in the movies where you're fighting 30 dudes and everyone's missing except for you.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's another thing too. People automatically think that full automatic fire is better, but basically every person that I've heard that were serious, like who had this type of work or who were in the military, most people shoot semi-automatic anyway. It's not worth it. You waste more ammo, and then you have it's wasteful, really. So you have a picture of your M4 setup that you had sent to me. It's actually pretty cool. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? It's very basic, and this is one thing that I wanted to ask: is the civilian AR-15? A lot of people think that they need all these things to
They need
really
the tactical.
Yeah, they need it to be tactical. They need it
Which is the
to
worst.
be and basically, even from somebody who trains with this and might use it from time to time, it's set up in a very simple way, and this is the way that I like in previous episodes. I think that the simpler, the better. So, Don, why don't you give us a run through of it?
Yeah, it's like Taylor said, it's very bare bones. It's got a 3-point sling. It's got a collapsible stock, right? It's got the red dot on it.
Yeah, it's a SIG Romeo 4M red dot on there, if people want to know. So it's not this like crazy expensive red dot. It's a good red dot,
It's a
SIG
good
Romeo.
one.
Yeah,
Not super cheap. But
right. No,
they're not
they're
going to break the
about
bank.
middle of the road.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And then you have a light on it.
It's got a light and a foregrip, and
Yeah.
it's got a 12-inch barrel, right? So obviously for CQB stuff, it's I don't have the 16 or fucking whatever. Like I'm,
Yeah.
I mean, trying to get around a corner. It's
It's
ridiculous.
it's an Enforce light, and the handrail is a Geisley Mark IV M-Lock handrail, which is a really, really great handrail in my opinion. It's robust. It's really slim. It's not the lightest handrail out there, but when you feel it, it's very solid. You could get. It's not going to come loose on you. It's a very the mounting system for it is very, very solid. 12-inch barrel. For us civilians, anything less than 16 inches has to be, registered as SBR. But for you guys, that's, not a thing.
Yeah,
You got to register something.
Yeah,
To register your dang-
you shouldn't be
your dong.
talking about length.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, man, gets the job done.
Quarter
And
inch,
then one
quarter
thing
mile.
which
Wins a win.
one thing I noticed was on this is they basically the government recycles their parts. So the lower is an M16A1 lower, and it has the third pinhole drilled, which for an auto sear, but it's not installed, so it's just basically a semi-auto, and the government just basically says, hey, we got all these leftover M16s, barrels are probably shot out, everything's warm, but the lowers are still
Yeah, they're
applicable.
still great. Yeah.
So yeah, I noticed that's the first thing I noticed. Property, U.S. government, M16A1, and then it's got the the hole in there. So I mean, old school lower, but still being used in the new world. So for guys who think, oh, I need this super tactical lower, it has this, and just get yourself a basic mil-spec lower. That's not the most important part of the gun. It'll get the job done. And then really put your money in the optics and the ergonomics of it. The barrel, I mean, I'm sure that the barrel is a Colt or an FN, probably. Yeah,
It's
Colt.
Colt barrel,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it's Magpul. It looks like it's just your Magpul regular collapsing stock. I can't tell what the hand grip is, but it's just like a textured kind of molded hand grip.
In the hand grip for me, I mean, they gave me one, but I can live with it. I mean, I don't need it. Because I'm in the Army, right? They didn't give us fucking hand grips or foregrips.
Right.
I mean, some people do.
Are you allowed to, like, if you wanted to add a foregrip on there, like a different one, are you allowed to modify it in that way at all?
No, it's got to be one of their things, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause God forbid getting into shooting and has some weird shit they didn't approve on it.
Right.
There's
Then
going
they look at it.
to be
Yeah.
like legal issues,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So it's the same shit, yeah.
Everything on there, they gave me.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And it also just has a regular A2 flash hider at the end of it. Nothing crazy. No special crazy compensator. So this kind of gets into my thing where if you see a lot of people that think all these enhancements on your gun will make you better, it gets back to you're shaking your head. No, in your opinion, would it just be training, even if you have the most basic of AR-15s?
Yeah, I think it's always going to be training.
Yeah.
Right.
We talked about just using pistols before, but it's just familiarization with the weapon and what it can do. So obviously just going to the range, being familiar with how to load, unload, take it apart, clean it. Because most people, like, even in law enforcement, right, they give you an M4 and M16, and they have no idea like how to take it apart and clean it properly and put it back together, or the firing pin goes back wrong.
Right,
or,
right.
Like, the day I went and got my M4, obviously I was in the military, so I mean, like, I had 8 years of playing with. I could take apart and put an M16 back together blindfolded.
Right.
But other people had no idea what was going on. I mean, and we use these right in my academy, so everyone had seen M4s for a lot, but somehow they just brain dumped it, and then you go to get one when you come to New York, and they're like, like I obviously cleaned my weapon. I must have cleaned like 5 other weapons too that day.
All right.
Because I don't want to put them back together wrong or then fucking jam right when they actually need them. So that's just familiarization and then practical application, right? So what do we use M4s for? CQB, right? So we go on arrests and they're violent people. You want more than just a Glock, right? Or your pistol. So just practicing clearing rooms, just getting the reps in, right? Because obviously it's not a pistol. It's got a long barrel on it. So like not hitting the door frame or having it like poke through the door frame so people know you're coming, just things like that, right? So just practicing with the weapon in a practical application is very important.
Yeah.
Cool. And also I was going to say in New York, me civilian has to have, let's just say, a compliant AR-15. So you've seen them before, they suck. But basically, I mean, for a compliant gun, you need a fixed stock, no pistol grip, and nothing on the end of your barrel. I mean, I'm looking at a picture of your M4 here. I mean, really, you get rid of the grip. Okay, it's not the end of the world. It's fixed stock. Okay.
I mean,
well, yeah, the auto sear is gone.
A real problem with that one.
Yeah, but I mean, reality. I mean, that's not a vertical grip. That's an angle grip. So I believe that's okay in New York to have an angled grip.
I think it is.
It's like a hand stop.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, you take just away that. I mean, if you were given a compliant gun, if you trained with it enough, it would still, in your opinion, do you think it would still be as effective as, let's just say, a normal AR-15 or M4?
Yeah, as long as you train with it and you knew like the dynamics and you were proficient with it, yeah, it's fine.
Have you ever messed with a fixed mag gun at all? A fixed mag M4 AR-15?
No, but there's like, I remember we went to a couple gun shows and they were there. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
What's your take on some of these like ridiculous gun laws?
It's crazy, right?
I don't know
like,
if you can really give your opinion.
I give my opinion in just a general way, right? Like, it's ridiculous. Like the people with weapons that like get them like us, we're not the issue, right?
Right.
And bad guys are always going to get weapons at the end of the day.
Right.
So like punishing us for not being able to have whatever we want to go to the range, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, right. You're going up against criminals that don't have a regard for the law. So
yeah. And they're still going to find ways to get weapons,
Whatever
right? Like it doesn't matter, right? Like they're still going to get at the end of the day. So
right.
But now I can't take my own personal M4 to the range and have like, well, I can, but regular people can't take
right.
M4s with all the toys to ranges, right? Or they can only have 5 rounds now?
10 rounds.
10 rounds?
Yeah, 10 round magazines.
It's ridiculous.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Which, if you are only limited to 10 rounds, you have to make sure that you make the best use of those 10 rounds. Now, with your M4, what kind of ammunition do you use? Is it hollow points? Is it full metal jacket? Is it the 62 grain, the green tip stuff?
You mean service hollow points?
Yeah. Oh, okay. You use hollow points in your M4.
Yep.
Okay. That's pretty good.
Yeah, because when we hit it,
it expands.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And also that'll help decelerate it and slow it down. If it does hit a wall, it'll open up
and that's for like probably legal issues for both law enforcement,
Probably,
right? Because they don't want them like going through someone and then hitting somebody else. Or
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in your duty sidearm, your Glock, you also use hollow points.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I just think that honestly, like I said, I'm limited on what I could own and what I could use. I think, like I tell people, it's like, honestly, in my opinion, with an M4 and AR-15, the detachable magazine is probably the most helpful thing. I think I sent you a screenshot yesterday, John. Somebody on Long Island Firearms Forum said that he bought this fixed mag gun new, and he was having problems where the gun wasn't extracting and the primers were coming out, and I'm like, that doesn't sound good at all. And people were like, I thought it was an because if he says primers are popping out, to me that sounds like an overpressure issue or wrong kind of ammunition, and then basically said, I just need to clean and lube it, because he just took it dry and went to the range and shot it.
Phrasing.
And I'm like,
here.
What?
You took it dry.
Yeah, well, you always need lube. Number one, you always need lube. Your preference. Yeah, your preference. But honestly, like, if you get a gun, like you guys were saying, some people just get a gun and they don't know anything about it. And you're more, because he was saying, I don't know if there's a live round in the chamber. I can't get it out.
How do you not know that?
Well, because he went to fire it.
Christ.
How do you not know that?
He went to fire it, and basically it wouldn't detonate, so he didn't know if it had fired or if it didn't fire or if it was a dud or whatever. So I'm just like, holy shit, like
My man is a dud.
well, so it's just like this crazy thing where like
Nailed
you
it.
said, somebody's given
That was good.
somebody's given a gun and you just don't know anything about it. So
Right.
training, getting training, learning, repetition is the most important thing.
Knowing how to just load a magazine and then put the magazine in, charge the weapon, how to once it's charged, right, you just pull the charging handle back and see there's a round in there. All important stuff right before you you actually go clear a room.
Right.
God forbid you have to fire a weapon and there's not a round in there.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're fucked or whoever your partner's fucked.
Yeah.
That's another thing too.
Right.
People think like press checks are like this thing that only like Hollywood does or like these tactical assholes, but no, like you said, it's a real world application where you load around. I've had it happen before where a bad magazine, it doesn't bring the round up high enough and it doesn't feed in. So you got to know, okay, there's definitely one in there. All right, like we're good to go.
I mean, I check my gun regularly like that. Yeah.
Remember when we went to where we were fucking Pennsylvania for that auto shoot?
Yeah.
Yeah. After I loaded my magazine with that auto M4, I did a press check and the guy was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's just a habit. Like,
yeah.
you have certain safety habits if you always practice with your weapon and you're familiar with that. You're just gonna do like muscle memory.
That guy there was probably just used to just people who doesn't know really how to handle a gun.
Well, I told him I use an M4 all the time for work. So he's like, all right, fine, you can put the fucking magazines in, dude. And then he's probably like, this guy's like just being a jerk off. But then I did all that and he's like, all right, he's familiar with the weapon, right?
Well, yeah,
Right.
right. It's just muscle memory, instant memory of just picking something up and being able to do it blindfold or being able just to
like an example, right? Like I'm gonna embarrass you for 2 seconds, Taylor, but like when we go to the range and you're done firing your weapon, you fucking do not put them all on safe.
Yeah, sometimes.
Which drives me
I'm used to
fucking nuts, right?
Well, I'm used to older guns to where you don't have a safety.
But M16 M4s,
Oh, yeah.
like muscle memory, dude. You put that thing back on safe. I don't care if it's empty and the bolts lock back; it still goes on safe.
Yeah, I got that's a training thing.
So all the time, like when you hand me one of your fucking M16s, and then I'm like
AR-15. I don't own any M16s.
Right. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you say because he'll be getting a knock on the door from a federal law enforcement officer.
If I'm on any list, you let me know, right?
Don't worry. I'll run your name later.
Yeah,
I will not run
AR-15.
your name. Yeah, when his AR-15s, whatever, he hands me one, and I have to put a magazine in it. I'm like, I go to like switch the safety selector,
And it's already on
and
fire.
I'm like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah, well, that's a me training thing.
And
like I
there's
said,
I think I have videos on my computer of me saying like, what the fuck?
yeah, no, that's definitely a me training thing. And like I said, I'm used to shooting older guns to where I don't fuck with the safety because sometimes, like on a Mosin, you have to pull the striker back and turn it in a notch. And if you slip, it could, if you have a live round in it, So a lot of older guns that I mostly deal with, I don't even have safety. So sometimes as long as it's open and clear, it's
But
just safe.
It's a completely different
Right.
weapon.
Oh, yeah, completely different. No, you're right. 100%. I own that. And like I said on the shotgun episode, like I wish I could train more with shotguns or, I don't get to the range as often as I should. That's like a total me thing. And I'm not.
Can't get to the range anyway anymore.
Well, yeah,
no
it's
fucking ammo.
Yeah, there's no
Dude, I
fucking
used to
ammo.
go to the
Or
range
there's
all the
ammo,
time.
but it's like break an arm and a leg in the bank.
Oh,
yeah,
Crazy
no, it's not a
expensive.
chance.
Yeah,
Not a
no.
chance. We told the story about my I have a family member who bought what was it?
The Ruger PC9,
Yeah,
9mm rifle,
Yeah, for like $1,500. They're normally like what $600.
$500 gun
Yeah.
before the pandemic.
And then he bought like 9mm at like over $1 a round.
Was it here?
It was
Yeah,
on Long
Long
Island.
Island,
Oh my god.
yeah, we don't like to mention store names, but,
But
they know
it's
that,
our
but
favorite gun
Maybe
store.
he lives in a different state. so that's why I was
No,
asking.
no.
Yeah.
He lives here. He's got the money to waste, but it's just the fact that like you're like validating the prices.
yeah,
at
you're
that point.
justifying
It's-
them.
It's
Yeah.
fucked.
That's why I'm not like I'm just getting like ammo when I go to the range now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go like buy like Remington or anything right now because I don't want to
Yeah.
spend $1 million on ammo. And it's just like I'm gonna go shoot it, right?
Right.
Yeah, the lowest price I've seen right now for 9mm was like 60 cents a round.
Yeah,
which
60,
even
65
I mean
cents.
even that looked good to buy. Like, oh shit,
looks- yeah,
it's not $1 a round.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
I know.
So, but I was like, no, I can't do it. I'll wait till it goes
I know.
Eventually, hopefully someday.
Nah,
Does it
I
go
mean,
back to normal?
it'll probably go back down to like being 20 cents a
It
round.
will at some point, but the whole thing is,
Even 20 cents a round is a lot.
It
When
is.
You can get it for fucking 11 cents a round.
it
15
is.
cents.
But
I get
the
a
problem
fucking
is
bullet press, start making my own ammo.
with the current. Yeah, well, the whole thing is even reloading components are non-existent now. Primers,
Yeah.
the biggest thing with primers because they come from outside of the country, they're non-existent. Bullet components are almost non-existent because everyone's buying them up. One thing I was going to ask, Don, is do you have any training specifically with suppressors or anything like that? Any sort of familiarization with them? No?
No, the not authorized for our weapons.
Okay.
So I know they're cool. I'll tell you just the common misconception though, which I mean everyone that listens to your podcast probably knows because they're all gun
Not
enthusiasts.
a lot of people are newbies, and some
really?
people outside of the country too.
Okay, well then just suppressors
We
in
have
general, right?
one listener who's in the UK.
Yeah,
And he
shout
loves,
out.
he loves us. We fucking talk to him all the time.
Does he tell you that, or do you see the statistics like when you like?
No, we
No,
talked to him.
we do see the statistics,
Okay.
but he also like
we chat with
he
him.
talks to us all the time, and
that's
he's
pretty fucking cool.
I
Like
know.
that you're like already overseas. So
One, we got one.
Yeah, whatever. It's one now, right?
Slow clap.
So I mean, like
Self-clap.
kudos to both of
Right,
you for that.
right.
But just like you watch movies and shit. When you hear suppressors go off, you think like, oh, it doesn't make a sound.
No, they're loud.
They're very loud, but the point of the suppressor is like you don't have to wear like ear pro, right?
Right,
That's
yeah.
really it.
It muffles the gun shot to a
Yeah.
degree, but it doesn't stop a supersonic bullet.
Not at all.
Well, some suppressors do, like the MP5 SDs. They decelerate a standard full metal jacket 9mm bullet to subsonic speeds. There's different designs, but for the most part, it just muffles the report.
For the most part, movies lie to you, right? I mean, just in general.
Right,
A couple
movies,
other
yeah.
dumb facts that maybe people don't know, right? Like you see, like I was watching Hitman like fucking last week on Hulu or some shit. And he was like going like dual wielding, like walking down the steps. Motherfucker, you would hit nothing in real life if you were dual wielding, pointing weapons the other way. It's hard
Not
enough
even
to like,
looking. Right.
it's hard enough hitting a standing target from 10 feet away
Right.
with two hands on a weapon while you're concentrating or someone's shooting at you. So, just saying, like,
But he's a hitman.
you're gonna like fucking, you're gonna Vin Diesel this fucking round or want like curve that shit Wanted. No.
John Wick.
Yeah.
John Wick, he can do it though. Keanu can do fucking whatever.
Yeah,
he
I mean,
wants.
his he trains
in
like a
Keanu, I
fucking-
trust, right? Like,
Yeah, I mean, his training videos are really incredible that he put that much time into
he's,
preparing for
Keanu's
a role.
actually trained though. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like if he went to like a 3-gun competition,
Yeah.
he'd probably do fine.
Right.
yeah.
Right.
No, that's how he trained, like in kind of 3-gun fast action
Yeah.
style. Now, do you think that kind of training is applicable to like real world, or does it have any validity in let's just say home defense, or even because I mean, honestly, a lot of people like me aren't going to be running after people to shoot at them. Like that's not what my thing is.
No, I mean most people don't do that anyway, right?
And honestly, like the average person I feel like listens to us aren't, let's just say law enforcement aren't, in that position to where they have to go on offensive. So mostly it's going to be defensive use. So that kind of training, I think, in my opinion, is good for just familiarization, target acquisition. But
I think it's good for I think it's good for being able to operate your firearm
under stress.
Under stress, yeah. In like a competent manner.
You both brought up great points. So to John's, right, is like doing it in a stressful situation because you're never just going to stand still
Right.
and fire and nothing's going to fire back, right? If it's a home invasion, he's going to probably rush you or have something in his hand. And then just to Taylor's too, right? Just familiarization and maybe moving.
Yeah.
But like the transition, like no one's going to be swapping from like their pistol to their
Right.
M4 at
Right,
home.
right.
Unless you're like walking in some fucking SWAT, like SEAL, Delta HRT dude or something like that. No one's going to be like, yo, 1 second, let me swap from my M4 to my Glock. Like real
Yeah.
quick. Like, no.
Right.
But just the familiarization and then just being under pressure.
Yeah.
You're both right. You nailed that on the head.
Yeah. And then honestly, one thing that is kind of like I think a common misconception is if it's government spec or it's mil spec, it must be better. I've seen some
All
janky
that means is that
shit.
it was the lowest
yeah,
bidder.
it was the lowest bid.
Nailed it on the head. That's
I mean,
Army to
Right.
any federal agency now,
Yeah.
right? Because I mean, they all have budgets, and their budgets work very much like we have to spend this much money,
Right.
but we have to get like the most bang for our buck,
Right,
right? So
right.
who's gonna give us
the most for the money.
the most for the least, right?
Right.
Because we have a budget.
I've seen pictures. I mean, you guys have sent me stuff. Family members have sent me stuff of just like some old ratty shit that the government uses, like old M16A1s that are still being used, like just different kinds of equipment. And I'm like, damn. So
Even-
when people think it's like mil spec, it's the best. It just means it's a specification that the military requested, but it doesn't mean it's the best. It means that it just meets like a minimum or it's a budgetary issue. I
Well,
just
people
found
they
that
put
funny.
their stamp on that, so they think that they could get like more money for it, or they
Right.
could sell more of them. It's not though. You know?
Yeah, like we in the Army, right? When I left active duty Army, we still had the Beretta M9. I think it's a piece of shit compared to a Glock. So
Right.
I'm a Glock guy, you know
and
what
I'm
I mean?
sure
Like,
those Beretta M9s have been put through the ringer.
oh yeah, I used to have to qualify because I was an officer, so I got to carry a Beretta around, like qualifying that as well as the M4. And half the time they're jamming and shit.
Yeah.
Or whoever had it last didn't fucking clean it. And also,
Classic.
Yeah, but cleaning weapons in the military too, just a painful process.
Yeah.
And like usually it's just like I want to clean this thing. I just spent 2 weeks in the fucking like field. I want to go to the fuck home. So I cleaned it. I swear. You know what I mean, so that's
Yeah.
So I got someone's dirty fucking Beretta.
Right.
Ugh. Yeah, that's gross. That's gross. And that's another thing too, like weapon maintenance. Like, okay, if you're gonna put your life on something, make sure you know how it works and that it's up to good standard of cleanliness, lubrication. Different kind of weapons require different kinds of maintenance. Really, I mean, M4s and ARs could be a little bit more particular than an AK.
Yeah, so you can throw like an AK, right? That's the old adage. You can like bury an AK, pull it out, and it'll fire.
Yeah.
But your AR-15s or your M16s, your M4s. Man, if you fired that like 100 rounds and you clean that motherfucker the next day, there's a good chance it's going to jam or double feed, right?
Did you have any experience with different kinds of weapons when you were over in Afghanistan? Did they like let you shoot anything differently or familiarization?
The only weird thing I got to shoot, or not weird, just fun, was like they had full auto AK-47s like just floating around, so I got to fire like 30 rounds to a full auto.
Nice.
And it was like my first time firing one, so I was like, it wasn't like I'm going to shoot like 4 rounds. It was like,
yeah, you just fucking let it rip.
Yeah, I didn't fire all 30, but I fired probably more than 10.
Yeah,
and it kicked up a little bit.
Yeah.
The SF dudes, because we had an SF compound attached to us when we were in Salerno and Jalalabad. Had we gone and visited them, but I was too busy. They had like fucking all the toys because they're SF, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I could have spent a whole day just shooting whatever the fuck they had over there.
That's pretty cool.
But unfortunately, it didn't work with my schedule.
Yeah. No, that's a bitch, ain't it?
That sucks.
Yeah. Or else I would have had more like weird, awesome shit.
Yeah. No, I love the AK.
They're the frat boys in the military, right? They get whatever the fuck they want, and they have like unlimited money. So
yeah. Well, that's an interesting thing. A lot of times, like special forces guys from what I've seen, obviously I don't know it personally, but from what I've seen online, they use kind of things that are in country or native to that country. So they might use an AK or they might use certain other guns that are more so not standard, even though they have like a American weapon with them, but they might use that to kind of blend in a little more or to be familiar in case they don't have access to something and they have to operate differently in the field.
That may be true if they're like in some sort of like fire team, just walking around like locals, but if they're like training the commandos and shit, they probably just have their own regular service weapons.
Nice. Is there anything that you could tell, like, let's just say people who are listening who might be new, or like if they're want to get into, let's just say, like maybe how to train, like how does your department or agency approach training for somebody that's totally new to guns? Like, how do you get your feet wet? How do you kind of get into that?
So I mean, just like when John mentioned before, like half the people that join most federal agencies, right, they weren't cops or they weren't military beforehand, so they had never picked up a pistol.
Right.
So like they open up the case and it's like, oh my god, it's a newborn baby.
Yeah.
And I remember like when they were trying to rack the slide because they never touched before, like they were like shaking, like, oh my god. And I was like, oh my god, this is not good. I mean, obviously it's the first day and they're going to learn,
right,
and they will learn because they've ended up finding 5,000 plus rounds to the weapon, right? But the first day I was like, oh god, wait until we go to the range. It's gonna be like having them next to me might be a little scary.
Yeah.
But so I mean, day one was just like, here's how you like load your weapon. Here's how you take the weapon apart and like quickly clean it, right? Because those are the important basics. But then I remember like for the next couple of days, it was I don't know, they make us fire like 500 rounds, and it was firing it though at like 15 yards and in first,
Okay.
and then just like slowly. It wasn't like fire your 15 rounds real quick. That's it. No, it was you have 10 seconds, fire one round. But
But
really,
make it count.
Yeah, so you
Right.
have 10 seconds to fire one round right before the target's face away.
Right.
But it's like really take your time, work on holding the weapon properly, right? Because that's the first thing teaches how to hold the weapon. Which I'm not gonna do it right now. But it's like an empty, but it's obviously the proper grip on the weapon and then the proper like pressing of the trigger, right? Like we briefly mentioned before. So it's 10 seconds. Really work on that one trigger press. So like just steady pressure. Don't like rush. I'm going to say rush the slide. Don't rush to the tension and then just rip the trigger.
Right.
Nice, steady press the entire time. And sometimes like they say like a mantra helps like in your head. So like just saying like press like really slow and steady until it just goes like the round goes off. And then like you let the trigger reset and you go back to tension and then just press again. You can say it out loud. You can say it in your head, right? It's just something so you have just a steady, consistent cadence in your head. You're just firing off rounds in a consistent manner. And you're not just like, and just, you know, like you just went through your entire magazine. Yeah. You didn't hit the bread box of the target.
Right.
Maybe you missed the silhouette altogether.
Where do you guys, like, let's just say you have a silhouette target. Do you guys aim center mass? Do you have headshots? Like, what do you...
You aim center mass, right?
Okay.
You aim for the largest part.
Okay.
So if you're like some swoopy SWAT dudes and all that, they probably do like 2 to the body, 1 to the head.
Yeah, the Mozambique.
But for just the regular... I mean, like, again, like it's hard enough to hit a target when you're under pressure.
Right.
But if you aim for the largest part, center mass, you're probably gonna hit them.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We actually do during our qualifier. They have us do two to the chest, one to the head now
There you
to
go.
train for body armor and stuff like that.
Oh, that's another thing too. New York had put a bill in to ban body armor.
Right.
What's your thoughts on body armor? Like, what do you? I don't know if you could get into specifics, but obviously you do have it.
Well, it's like I'm assuming you mean like civilian.
Yeah, civilian
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
Civilian
'Cause we need
ownership.
it. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, you guys need it, but like,
How do you feel about body armor?
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah.
I fucking love it.
but
I love the plates because they're gonna stop a 5.56 round,
Okay.
and then I love the 3A because it's gonna stop a handgun. You know what I mean? Round.
right.
so you guys have
No,
different.
but like you're the civilian ownership of body vest.
like, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, if you want to own it, I really don't give a shit, right? If you're gonna own it and you're a good person, you're not gonna do anything malicious. Knock yourself out. I think it goes back to like putting fun stuff on your
Right,
AR-15,
sure.
right? And and again, if you're a piece of shit and a scumbag and you're like do crimes, I mean, you're gonna get the body armor anyway.
right.
Right. So what's your thoughts like about going, let's just say you have to apprehend somebody and they might have body armor. How does that change things tactically for you guys? Is it a different approach you have to use, or do you have to use a different weapon depending, like you don't know what kind of body armor they have, but if you see that he might have it, you switch to a rifle. Do you try and do something different?
For the most part, right, we're bringing rifles in with guys that are armed and dangerous.
Okay.
Because I mean, if they're going to see a couple guys with M4s pointing at them, they're probably going to not fuck with us, right? But then we take the Glocks and just it's a duty weapon or everyday carry. So I mean, but if they're gonna have fucking body armor, they're armed and dangerous, right? So
Right. Do you think
we're gonna come fully loaded?
do you think that changes? Do you think that it gives them an advantage? Because some people I hear is like, oh, well, it'll give criminals an unfair advantage against law enforcement. I mean, because people have a common misconception about body armor. If you get shot with body armor, you still feel the impact of the bullet. It doesn't penetrate, so it's gonna fucking hurt.
It's gonna fucking hurt, and depending where it hits, you're gonna break a couple of ribs, right? So and
Right.
then if
It'll save your life, but
if you give them the old NYPD special and there's 4 guys shooting 40 rounds at you, and I mean, and they're connecting, you're still gonna go down, right?
Right. And some people are like, oh, God, let me ask you this question, because this is a common one that fucking I hear all the time, and it's just the biggest annoyance to me. When people say, oh, you could have just shot him in the leg.
Oh, stop!
Yeah.
And I remember like
that's nonsense.
Yeah, when everyone
during
was-
Corona and all the riots and stuff, they're
yeah.
like, I saw a video of some guy coming at a dude with a knife, and he's like, "Why didn't you just shoot the fucking knife out of his hand, motherfucker? Shut the fuck up!"
no
Like,
way.
There's no
no
way.
way.
Again, like if someone's coming at you and you're aiming set or mash, you might miss because your adrenaline's up and you grip the
Right.
trigger. So
Right.
trying to aim for a hand, stop.
A leg,
I mean,
a
these are
hand.
like keyboard warriors who have
Right.
no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Yes.
Zero idea.
Again, have probably never even held a gun.
And if you
Right.
if you gave them like a weapon in like a shoot or no shoot
would
training
probably shoot.
scenario, they would shoot
Shoot every
immediately,
time,
and
yeah.
they would shoot them right in the fucking chest.
Oh,
because
yeah. That's the biggest place to hit.
But these
Right.
people, right? They're not law enforcement. They're not military. They're not out there protecting people, right?
Right.
They're just sitting behind their keyboard and they want to be like tough guys.
Yeah, these common myths and misconceptions, especially like, John is, let's just say, more local law enforcement, but you're on a federal level. There's 2 different ethos, there's 2 different mindsets, there's 2 different things that you guys have to tackle. So I mean, oh yeah, shoot him in the leg. Or shoot to wound. Like, no, you don't shoot at somebody to wound them. That might happen, but you have to stop them.
And you can correct me, John, but I'm pretty sure your deadly force policy is probably similar to mine, where you're not shooting to wound anybody.
right,
If you're pulling out your weapon,
Right,
you're
you
putting
gotta
them
use
down
it.
until the threat's gone.
right, yeah.
Right.
And
I
that's,
think the way it's worded is like shoot to stop the threat.
Exactly. So it doesn't mean like you're shooting to kill them, but you're
Right,
shooting
right.
to put
If
them
they
down
happen to die.
neutralize the threat, and then you can obviously
Right.
you're going to assess them and get them aid
Right.
and arrest them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I hear all this, especially in the civilian, like, I'm a civilian. It's just like, I hear all this stuff from people that like are friends, or not friends of mine, but like people who are,
Taylor doesn't have any friends
no, but
except for us in this
people you
room.
might see
Maybe
on social
half.
media and whatever. And it's just, man, I'm getting it today. Jeez,
Yeah.
I guess this is well deserved.
Well, yeah.
Don, just for the side note, Don and I have known each other for a very long time.
very
So
long
this is
time,
this is our usual banter,
Oh,
our
my
inappropriate
God.
jokes.
I mean, this is like mild for us,
oh,
right?
yeah,
If we were
very
on the
mild.
air,
We're toning it down.
the conversations we had before we went on air,
Oh,
I've heard.
jeez.
I've heard some horrifying shit come out of these.
I mean, Jesus. He asked before we went on mic, can I curse? I'm like, yes, you can.
Yeah. Just making sure.
Speaking about what we were talking about earlier, your feelings on gun control opinion, not a federal department thing or anything, but from like, let's just say an enforcement standpoint, you said no matter what, criminals will get guns anyway. I mean, I'm sure you see shit that people do illegally and you're like, how the fuck does this happen? Or how do they get away with this? It just because they don't have a regard for the law.
They don't care, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to do what they do regardless of what we tell them to do or what the government tells them to do. So
Is there anything that you found kind of shocking in relation to, let's just say, like firearms or anything like that in your line of work? Like you saw something that somebody had and you're like, oh shit, like how the fuck they get that, or anything like that, confiscations or...
I mean, usually you just see like the hunting rifles in the city because those aren't super hard to get.
Yeah.
Or you see like a Glock. I haven't seen any crazy weapons or something they really shouldn't have yet.
I've seen AKs and like the quote unquote assault rifle type stuff.
Yeah.
I've seen ARs and all that shit, and a lot of shotguns, a lot of handguns.
Yeah, a lot of sawed-offs and
the
shit.
high point.
Yeah, the high point.
A lot of the high point.
the old reliable high point.
Old reliable, baby.
The old high point.
Hey, man.
Those are so cheap though. So
Oh yeah, they're so cheap, but they just fucking work, man.
Yeah.
you could probably buy them for like $200 or something.
Probably.
Yeah,
brand new
new
one?
they used to be like 200. I don't know what they are now due to Corona, but they were like $200.
So maybe they
They're,
went up,
they're
maybe they went
less.
10
They're
bucks.
less now.
Yeah, $190.
Yeah.
We can't give these fucking things away.
on sale. I don't know, man. Back in the day, Iraq Vet 88 did a torture test and meltdown video of them, and I
Yeah.
mean, it literally took them melting the slide to
Yep.
stop it from working.
It's just. I don't think it's just ugly as fuck.
It is. It's just
Like,
over. It's not refined.
It's
just
an ugly
a gun.
fucking gun.
It's an ugly weapon, and I mean, like, you guys watch like the Demolition Ranch videos?
Oh, yeah.
Occasionally, like Matt,
Yeah.
he's put them through torture tests, and he like clogs the barrel with like
Right.
glue and shit, and they
Yeah.
still fucking fire, and they don't break
right,
though.
Right.
But they're pieces of shit. They're
They just have
disgusting.
they have a rep, and they're
Yeah, they do.
fucking ugly, and I would never
Yeah.
want one.
And it's not just like us saying that, like that's a common thing amongst everybody. So
That's a
Right.
general consensus.
yeah, we're not just hating on High Point.
Yeah.
No, not at all. From the standpoint of firearms training, in your opinion, Don, is it better to train with, let's just say, you go out and you buy like a really kind of higher end gun, and you get familiar with that, but then you kind of get accustomed to that, like it's kind of like a crutch almost in a certain way, or like optics. I mean, you spent time in the military. Did you guys use optics in the military? Did you use iron sights, or what did you guys have?
It depended what unit I was in, because what unit you're in, it depends. Like if you're an infantry unit, you're gonna get the optics. I mean, you're gonna get the fucking lasers and everything. If you're in the cab, you're gonna have an M16, and there's gonna be no optics and iron sights.
Okay.
So it's just to answer the first part of the question, you kind of like talking about crutches and stuff.
Yeah. Do you think an optic might like give you a crutch?
I mean, again, it's just whatever you're going to be familiar with that what you're going to use in the scenario. So if you're used to using an optic to clearing a room and that's your job, then get very familiar with using the optic and clearing the room. Right, know how to turn it on, make sure it's on, make sure it's charged, and then just being familiar like where you have to aim with the optic to hit them dead center or whatever. If you're going to use iron sights, just be familiar with iron sights.
Right. Do you in the military? What kind of optics did you guys have if you had them? Like, what was the more prevalent ones?
We had I had red dots.
Okay.
Red dots and iron sights.
All right.
A lot of people not a fan of iron sights, but I shot with more iron sights in the military than I did with anything else.
Okay.
So I'm very comfortable with iron sights.
They say now the joke is that iron sights are like the stick shift of the gun world. It's kind of like something that a lot of older people know how to use, but the new generation doesn't.
Sure.
The advancement in red dot technology also has greatly increased to where red dots now are becoming standard issue with some police departments on service guns. Their reliability has gotten way up. They're actually used in real world training, like what you guys have, as opposed to just iron sights. But on your M4, I still notice that you do have iron sights, backup folding down iron sights.
Yep.
I forgot to mention that earlier. So do you think that in this day and age of, let's just say, modern red dots and stuff, that there is still a place for iron sights?
Absolutely. Because I mean, tried and true, right? Like you didn't charge that battery or it gets wet or whatever, and it's not going to work.
Right.
If you've never used iron sights, like probably half people that got those M4s the day I did, they're going to be like, fuck, how do I aim?
Right. And that's, I mean, you guys go over that did you guys go over that in the federal training, or was that something you just remembered from the military?
No, I mean, it's just because I was military and for 12 years, right, I'm used to using like M16s or M4s, and probably half that time it was just an iron sight. But no, when I went through my federal law enforcement training, there was always an optic on there.
Okay.
So everyone was familiar with the optic. And optics too, right? I mean, they zoom in a little bit, right? And then it's just easier to aim.
Your optic, is that just a true red dot, or is that a magnified at all? The Sig Romeo 4?
I think it's magnified a little bit.
Or like a 2-time or something like that, 1.5?
Yeah, like 1.5 or something.
Okay,
It's
very minimal.
Very
magnification.
minimal, but again, and also too, right? Like when you're aiming like iron sights, you gotta line up the front and rear side aperture, right? So it takes a little more, like a little second. With red dot, you just point and pray, not point and pray. You just
point and pray.
point and spray, or point and shoot. Or maybe some people might point and pray.
Yeah.
But a trained person, right? You just point and shoot.
Haji style, shoot over a car.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So I mean, like, but for them, like, you just put the red dot dead center. You don't have to line up 2 red dots to shoot, right? So that's why some people might be more comfortable than having iron sights.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I definitely do want to get a red dot sight for if I build a different AR for that kind of style, like a 16-inch barrel, kind of something like that. But I have to get more familiar, I feel like, with iron sights first.
Yeah, I think you probably have your bare bones set up.
Yeah.
And you train until you're proficient there, and then
Right.
you can add onto your training.
Because I think with
that way you can always come down. You
Right.
know, you don't want to start at the top and then not. Have
Yeah,
any
that's what I was
knowledge.
getting at
You'll
earlier.
have the basics though, right? Like you know how to
Right.
use iron sights.
Right.
So when your red dot fails someday or whatever.
I feel like some people nowadays I see they don't, if they run a red dot on like an AR, they don't even put iron sights on because the red dots today are so much more reliable that they don't foresee themselves ever getting into an issue where it won't work or the battery won't die. I mean, some of them last
until it does.
Yeah, like I think some of like the aim points last like 72,000 hours or something on a battery. It's nuts. So one thing I was going to say more so with iron sights, and this is applicable for a handgun, for a rifle, is that it's more so about ballistics. And let's just say you shoot hollow points. That hollow point is going to shoot differently than FMJ. It's going to shoot differently than a lead point. So knowing what your gun shoots with different ammo and different red dot configurations as well is also important. You guys, when you train, obviously you use hollow points, but do you train with FMJ? Do you use...
Yeah, so when we're just doing training and not qualifying, use FMJ.
Okay.
But if you're gonna qualify and do an actual PQC or whatever you call it, using the hollow points, right? Using your actual service ammo, so you know what it feels like, right? Or how it hits the target, or all the above, right? And you just covered that.
Do you notice if there's like a point of impact shift, or if the rounds behave differently if they're hollow point versus full metal jacket?
I mean, obviously, when it hits the target, it's completely different. But
Right.
yeah, I don't notice like how it's
Like you still aim the same. You still...
Yeah.
I think at the ranges that we fire at,
It's really inconsequential.
right.
yeah.
The bullet's not going 200 yards.
No,
Right,
and also
right.
like AR-15, M16, M4s, right? They can fire for over 300 meters accurately.
Yeah.
But in law enforcement, we're firing them like maybe 50 yards away.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you were blindfolded, you're still hitting your target.
Yeah.
Right. You won't shoot 300 yards in your position because there's no point.
No,
It's-
we're not snipers. We're just regular law
No.
enforcement. So we're not
And-
like SWAT up top of building trying to shoot you.
When we were talking about the AR-15 episode, I mentioned that if you want to build an AR-15, know what purpose it's going to serve. If you want it to be a longer range, or if you want it to be an up close and personal kind of weapon, that will dictate what kind of ammo you use, what kind of setup you would have, and how you train with that weapon. So I have one AR that's meant for shooting at distance versus, let's just say, like Don's AR that he has, which is meant for up close and personal business. So again, if you're looking to build an AR-15, know what you're gonna... Don't try and make it like a jack of all trades. Like I see guys with like a 16-inch barrel with a foregrip and a bipod and a magnified optic with a red dot because they're like, well, if I got to shoot a guy at 200, but then if I'm clearing the room, it's like, no. Like...
Or a 1022 with a...
I mean, John, you said it before. They're trying to be tactical.
Right.
Yeah,
And
tactical.
that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like, this our friend Don over here has his M4 set up a very specific way, and it's not this crazy tactical shit. I mean, the barrel, I'm sure, is a chrome lined barrel for longer service life, heavier duty use. The optic is not this crazy high end red dot. It's a good optic. It's middle of the road kind of optic. Again, government budgets and all. The handrail is a really nice Geisley Mark IV free float handrail, and then he's got it looked like a Fab Defense kind of angled grip. It was very ergonomic. It looked like. But I mean, that's basically it. And then it's more so about the person behind the gun that's really going to dictate what happens, the training that goes into it. So, like I said, I need more training. I definitely know I do.
Well, I know. Like, what's your qualifier like for your duty weapon, your handgun?
We start 3 yards out, and then we go up to 25, and we fire rounds.
Just stand and shoot.
Yep, stand
Okay.
shoot. But so you go far out and come in. We go close to out.
Yeah, they actually just changed it. The old way was start far out, come in, and then they switched to a moving course of fire, like we discussed before, and then the most recent one I went to, they started in and they worked their way out. I think because people were probably holding rounds at the 25.
But also, like, I mean, this might be the reason why they changed it. But also, right, like we kind of talked about before, most shootings happen 10 yards and in.
Right.
So it makes sense to fire more rounds 10 yards and in.
Yeah. Well,
and less,
it's
like,
the same
25
amount of
out.
it's the same amount of rounds at the same distance.
No,
They
I know,
just
but
start
like, but you fire. How many rounds do you guys fire altogether in your
50,
PPC?
50.
Same. But I mean, like, you're not firing 25 rounds at the 25-yard line.
No,
right?
no,
Yeah.
no.
You're firing the majority
5.
of them 15 and in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why I think that makes more sense. Just so you're used to
Yeah.
shooting more rounds close.
Right.
Now, another question I kind of wanted to divert from the guns a little bit here. Don, in your opinion, with everything that's going on with defund the police, defund law enforcement, etc., obviously, I know what your feelings are, but
Yeah.
do you see
That's
any
good.
impact on that in performing your job, in performing your duties?
I mean, less money, right? So less training. You're gonna have, if you're gonna take certain departments away in a police organization, right? And they're gonna have to spread themselves more thin, maybe, or you're gonna have like not uniform cops, but like the ones in plain clothes might disappear, right, or something. So it's just
It's so weird. I see all the time people push for like defunding the police, like taking money away from their budgets,
Right.
and then in the same breath, I see these same types of people say like, "Oh, these cops are trained so poorly." It's like, well,
Yeah, what do you
because
want?
you're fucking taking their money away. If you want better training and better cops, you actually have to fund them more.
you have to train them. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
Ammo is
It's like,
expensive.
oh, why the
Time
fuck
is
these
not
cops
cheap.
aren't trained? Like they fucking don't know the laws. So let's defund them. What the fuck? That shit makes no sense.
Right.
Not at all.
It's crazy. But again, like the people that say that, right? Like they're not the ones like protecting and serving. They're not the
Right.
ones with weapons. They're not the ones like patrolling at night. They're the
Right.
ones that get to sit, go home,
Yeah.
and fucking just talk on their
Right.
keyboards.
Yeah, they're the keyboard
Right.
warriors.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not dudes that are clearing rooms, kicking
Yeah.
in doors for a violent federal level offender.
Yeah, no.
He
And
probably
also-
should have been in jail but got let out.
Or they have like cops like escorting them places, right? And they're shitting on the cops that are protecting them. Like,
Right.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
private
Well,
security, police officers, celebrities, politicians.
Every politician.
You know.
Crazy.
Do you see like a difference in the way you operate based on like now what's going on? Like, do you guys? Because I know like for me, obviously,
It's different. Federally, it's different than locally,
Right,
so
right.
it doesn't affect us as much.
right. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Yeah, for us, we have to think about every little thing that we do and say now is, who knows what could happen. Anyone can make a complaint about anything, and you gotta worry.
Some people like right, smartphones and social media.
Right.
I fucking hate it, right? Because now there's always a camera everywhere.
Yeah,
And
right.
also everyone's got an opinion, which is completely different.
Right.
Not gun related
Right.
topic or anything.
Right.
But again, like you're always being recorded now, right?
Right.
So even if
Right.
you're doing the right thing as law enforcement, someone's
Right.
gonna take that 2-second snippet.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Out of context
Right. You have
completely,
the
right?
last 15 seconds,
Yeah.
and that's what gets like put
Right.
everywhere for 2-3 weeks, and then only like a month later
Yeah.
does the
Maybe
actual
the full thing comes out.
come
It'll get
out. and
buried
then
So
it's
because
like,
you
oh,
doing your
no.
job, you getting
Right.
assaulted first.
Right.
You showing restraint, like all that will not be on camera.
Right.
And then, right, even if you're completely innocent, you're gonna be painted as the bad guy for a month or
Right.
two.
Right.
They're gonna
Right.
give you shit. They might fucking suspend you.
Right.
And then even after that, like it may not go back to the way it should have, right? When you were in the
Right.
right. So
We've gone over actual like body cam footage of incidents and
Yeah.
stuff like what happened up in Rochester, but I mean,
Oh, did you see? Speaking of Rochester, we were talking about the guy, the EDP who that died while he was in police custody. Remember we were talking about that?
in Rochester.
Yeah, those cops were just found to be not guilty of anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because like the full video that no
Came
one
out.
had seen, right, showed that he actually died of excited delirium, similar to like George Floyd and
Oh,
stuff like
shit.
that. Yeah.
Wow.
So they were cleared of everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they were the target for pretty much every social justice group.
Since like the middle
while,
of like
yeah.
the BLM, protests
Riots last
/
year.
riots and then forward, like up until right now. It's weird. I'm hearing a lot less about BLM lately now that
Yeah.
Uncle Joe is
Creepy
in
Uncle
office.
Joe. Which, by the way, those airstrikes in Syria, back when Trump was doing stuff, they were saying Syria is a sovereign nation, you shouldn't be doing that. But
Yeah.
now it's magically
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Kids in cages turned into migrant detention centers.
Yeah,
I'm
that's the
I'm
best.
gonna be very general here, but there's always an agenda, right? With the
Of
Yes,
course, of
there
course.
always
I mean,
is an
Of
agenda.
course, of course.
if it fits their narrative,
Exactly.
and that's it, and they get what they want.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that like the people who vote a certain way just they refuse to acknowledge that they see this.
Right.
Like, there's no way they don't realize this. Right.
Right.
It's fucking nuts. And also, it's 2021 now. It's getting worse every
Right.
year.
Oh my God, yeah.
And again, social media's got a big part because everyone has
Yeah.
an opinion.
Yes.
And then everyone has access.
Yeah.
Yes. From a federal standpoint, kind of getting back into firearms
Mm-hmm.
just for a bit, people are worried about, let's just say, federal gun control confiscation. I know this might not be your area of expertise per se, but I mean, from a logistical standpoint, in your opinion, do you think that's even something that's possible? Like
How?
the government going and confiscating
Right. So, I mean,
firearms?
someone draw me a map on how they're going to fucking knock on everyone's door and be
Yeah.
like, let me see all. Do you have any AR-15s? Are they compliant? Let me see them real quick. Where's your, I mean, like,
Yeah.
come and get
There's
them.
not enough manpower. For
No,
that
there's
at
not.
all.
My thought on that is that mostly it's going to be like an after the fact thing. If you get caught engaging in any sort of criminal activity, then they're going to.
It's an add-on charge,
Yeah.
just like most of like the New York Safe Act is just
Yeah.
add-on shit.
I just think like logistically on a federal level, I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but I mean, they can make any laws they want, and then the enforcement is up to that. They'll just write the law and then figure out how to do it later, much like the Safe Act. Oh, we're going to make an ammunition background check database. Oh, wait, we can't. Oh, we don't have funding for it. Oh, well, we're just not going to take the law away. So
Yeah,
people are
right.
still on the hook for it in New York.
Yeah.
So I think just from like a federal standpoint, like you said, it's like, show me how to do it. Like, how are we going to do this? It's like fucking impossible. I mean, I'm still worried about it to some degree, don't get me wrong, because I think that, like I said, they could pass any laws they want, and then
Yeah.
me as a citizen, civilian, is bound by those laws now. So
Correct.
Sure. But I think, also you have to take into consideration that, law enforcement is, I mean, are they
There's
going
still
to do it?
pe- yeah, there's
Are
still
they going to
people-
go door to door and start confiscating
Right.
guns? Like there would be mass non-compliance, not only on a civilian level, but also a law enforcement.
And remember
level.
that law enforcement's supposed to do their regular job too, right?
Right.
Right.
They don't have time to knock on every fucking door and figure
Right,
out who's
exactly.
got what in their house.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
I just think that it's kind of a pipe dream from
It's just it's
from the
it's-
liberal.
I just don't see that
I mean, it
being
sounds,
something that's going to
they
happen.
think it sounds good, right?
Right.
But
I mean, I really think that's pretty much it. I think. Is there anything else you want to ask, John?
I don't
Anything
know.
else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right.
How do you personally train when you go to the range?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah,
I
because I
mean-
know like when I go, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no,
when
it's
I
fine.
go, I do like I bring my duty belt and I do draw fire exercise. Taylor seen me do
Yeah.
it. Like I don't stand and shoot because that's not real world shit. I know during my qualifier when I have to requalify, I could stand there and shoot and pass and get hundreds, whatever. But real world application, I always do like a draw fire.
and that's smart because that's how it's going to happen,
Right.
and that's how you were trained, right? So, I mean, I shot over 5,000 rounds. I had hours and hours and hours of training, so I literally do a similar, like how they taught me is how when I go to the range.
Sure.
I do this. As long as the range isn't super packed in the pistol area, I'll draw my weapon from there because I mean, obviously, I have a badge, so they realize I'm not just a regular
Right.
Joe trying to draw from my holster.
Right.
A lot of people do that too, just normal civilians, because if you're going to carry a gun,
Depending on what range you go to,
Well,
they
yeah.
might they
and
might
the
have an
range,
issue.
the range safety officers are not cool with probably not
Right.
military
Yeah.
law enforcement drawing from their holster.
Right.
Because
but that's how people should train, because that's how you're going to most likely
it
use
should be, but it's not practical. I mean, it is practical to do that, but it's not practical depending what range safeties are
Right,
out there, right?
right,
Because
right.
it's a safety thing, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
someone could
'cause-
draw and fucking wing somebody.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, like where we go, like, and you've been there as
Yeah,
well.
we're talking about the same place, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
They're cool about it
They are.
usually. And
I mean, they'll
like,
definitely be cool with you and me doing it. So
they definitely are. Yeah.
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 He's been there. I've had conversations with guys who are like retired, cops and
Yeah.
shit like that, and they don't care. I always, once they see the duty belt, they know I'm just not some regular fuck, because
yeah,
who the
exactly.
fuck has all that shit? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
so I mean,
sure some
posers.
posers do.
Yeah, we don't get duty belts, but obviously
Right,
I bring
right.
my holster and
Right.
all
Yeah.
my magazines,
Right.
and I have my my magazine holders on me, like if I do a PQC, so I get
Right.
the reps in of drawing my weapon and then
Right.
doing the reloads.
Right.
Are you mostly plainclothes in your in performance of your duties? Are you mostly uniform, or how does that?
99.9% of the time, I'm in plain clothes, right?
Okay.
Unless we're knocking on your door at 6 in the morning.
What
but
is your uniform?
this?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say he doesn't have like a.
No,
No,
well,
yeah.
I didn't know if, for example, like if you are, like you said, going on knocking on somebody's door to inquire about something, if you have to be in a suit, or if you.
It depends who we're talking to, right?
Right.
We're
Okay.
talking
Makes sense.
important, high up politicians, executives, whatever. You should probably look the part, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm gonna
the
knock
G-men.
if I'm gonna go buy drugs or knock on a door or something like that,
Right.
I'm gonna look like how I look now.
Buy
right?
drugs in your official capacity.
Of course. Yeah. No.
I would hope people are smart enough to realize what
Well,
I'm talking
hey,
about.
Kids don't do drugs.
No. Hey man, Elon Musk doesn't. Look where he's at. Just saying.
He's
Well,
loaded.
he's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. I
my,
just think
my man definitely don't give a fuck about anything.
No, he doesn't give a fuck. I just, because like for example, like he trains with a duty belt, but if you're mostly in plain clothes, you have to think about concealment more than really anything.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, other than when I'm at a range or if I'm on an arrest, my weapon's always concealed, right? So,
right. So you have to think about that as your primary thing, and then how to get your gun out from that concealment. So like, what kind of shirt you wear, what kind of belt you wear, what kind of holster you have, all those things kind of get into that. I would
Again,
imagine.
that's all very important. And going back to like just familiarization with and practicing right with what your equipment is. Like, be familiar with your holster. Be familiar with like if your shirt's over your holster, like pulling your shirt up and then drawing your weapon.
Right.
Be familiar with where your magazines are, how to grab your magazines out of a magazine holder.
Right.
Reloading, like all that. You need to practice, right?
Mhm.
Because God forbid, like you actually need to use that training. Right, when you go back to, this is not the saying like verbatim or whatever, but it's like when shit hits the fan, you always go back to your lowest level of training.
Yeah, you revert to your most lowest.
So if
right.
if your lowest level of training is you being very proficient at doing everything,
Right.
then it's gonna be like like riding a bike, right? You're not gonna
Yeah.
forget.
Right.
But if you like don't take it seriously and you're not good at reloading or drawing your weapon, it's gonna look like shit when
Yeah.
your heart's
Yeah.
beating and this guy's shooting you from 10 feet away.
Right.
I'm pretty
Yeah.
proficient with a Mosin, but
He's a fucking. This guy's obsessed with Mosins.
I just like
But yeah,
they're
that's
fun,
why I
man.
always do draw on fire because I don't want to have to I just want my muscle memory to take over at that point.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Right.
Perfect mindset, Sean.
Right.
Yeah.
What kind of holster do you were you issued a holster? Do you pick one from a civilian world, or how
Yeah,
do you?
They gave us like a safari holster with
Okay.
like the release on it,
Retention.
but I
Okay.
use Bravo Concealment. Here,
Okay.
they don't sponsor this or
No.
me, but I'm a fan of Bravo Concealment. Right.
Okay.
It fits better to the body. So if I put a T-shirt over my my holster,
Is it Kydex? Is leather?
it's Kydex.
Okay.
So I'm a fan of the Bravo Concealment outside the waistband, and then I also have the inside the waistband by Bravo Concealment.
Mhm.
And I just got, I don't know who the fuck makes it. I just got a gun belt, and it looks like kind of civilianish.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't even known
nice.
it's a gun belt.
Yeah.
Really.
I
You can see the weaving kind of on there.
And I could have gotten a leather one, but
it's stiff. But it doesn't.
it is stiff, and it's on a track, so I have to like break it in. But it's better than a regular belt because having like my weapons in my cuff and my magazines and shit on my regular belt was just like pulling the fucking belt holes open.
Yep.
So now it's like a little click, right? So it can.
Oh, that's cool.
nice,
It's
yeah.
super stiff too. And I wouldn't have even known it was a kind of a duty, more performance belt. It looks very plain, black chrome buckle, nothing obscene.
When you carry off duty concealed, where's your holster placement?
So that depends like what I'm doing or what shirt I have on that day. Because I'll conceal in my the appendix in the front.
Mm-hmm.
I'll conceal like on my.
You're
hip.
a slim guy too, so it helps you.
Yeah, but I also carry appendix, and I'm not a slim guy.
Yeah,
at
so,
all.
I mean you can.
So
yeah, so
Yeah.
It depends. And if you're carrying appendix front, you really probably want like a smaller holster with like a 1 point lock contact. You don't want like 2 points where it has to lock into your belt.
Right.
But like if you're doing like 2 point belt locks, like on your hips, fine. Or you can go like, what's that, like 5 o'clock behind you, which is probably the easiest way to conceal with a t-shirt on, but maybe not so applicable if you're drawing your weapon.
Yeah, I mean, we had this conversation about that, and I feel like I have more control just having the gun in front of me rather than in back of me, who someone might see it or whatever.
Or I
and
mean, like when you're gonna draw, it's gonna take longer.
Right,
If you're trying
right.
to put it back, you're like, oh fuck, where is it? You know what I mean?
Right. But a lot of people are scared to carry appendix because you got that gun pointing right at your balls.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's in a holster. It's not gonna fucking.
It's not.
Right.
Yeah.
Like remember this, guys? Like people always like, oh, guns are so bad. Really? Like gun, go ahead and shoot.
Yeah.
Shoot gun.
Do something.
Do something.
Right,
Oh, because
right.
you didn't fucking fire the weapon. It's not gonna shoot.
Right. I think someone posted. I don't think it was you. I think it was Tom. He I commented on like Glock put up a post of someone carrying fucking appendix, and someone was like, "Oh man, like they're fucking like why would you carry it? It's like pointing right at your dick." And I was like, well, if you know anything about Glocks, you're not going to fire. So unless your dick gets into the trigger guard, you shouldn't have a problem.
Impressive.
You sent me that one.
Your dick slides into like your trigger, the trigger guard into the holster, and just like
pulls the trigger. Yeah, it's like you have nothing to worry about.
No,
It's like,
and also right, like you're gonna have probably the quickest draw, obviously, if the weapon's in front of you or on the side, right? So versus trying to reach behind you.
Right.
I mean, it's just practical purpose, the quickest draw.
Yeah.
What do you think of civilians carrying concealed? I mean, for it, against it?
I mean, if it's allowed in the state, have at it. I don't care.
Some people think that.
Well, do you think like a lot of states should just have constitutional carry and just allow obviously maybe a less densely populated area of the country, that's one thing, but like like a lot of people advocate for like New York City to have like just like let people constitutionally carry.
I mean, what do you think about that? Because you're in the streets of New York City way more than I am.
Fuck, man, I don't know.
It's
crazy when you
because right now, right, like if you go into a shitty part of the city, like only the bad guys are really gonna have weapons. Maybe
a lot of people have guns right now.
But
a lot of people.
But the majority of citizens or civilians in New York City, they don't have a weapon, so you're not worried about it. So
there's just like so many robberies and assaults that I feel like there would be a lot of shootings, and then it would just like slowly die down as like most of the bad guys got killed.
Like, let's just say not constitutional carry. Like, let's just say, for example, in other parts of New York, you can get a permit to carry. It's less restrictive. It's easier to get in certain parts of the state than others. So, like, for example, if a guy from upstate New York has a carry permit, it's not valid in New York. He can't bring his gun to New York. But so what I was more so getting at is, like, let's just say you have a permit to carry. Some states do have constitutional carry. Yeah. Right. But let's just say you have to go through some sort of background check, some reasonable permitting process.
Okay. Sure.
Application permit.
Sure.
Do you think that it would be like something detrimental to the public, or do you think it's just, like you said, just as long as you whatever, just go for it?
I don't think it would be. I don't know if it would detrimental, like to who, to
that's what I'm getting at. Some people
to
think
the criminals. I think it would be fucking really bad for them.
So sorry to cut you off, but like bad guys will always get weapons, right?
Right.
So you maybe have a couple more good Samaritans with weapons,
right?
That trying to do John Wick shit, that might be the only problem. Maybe.
Right.
But I think it's so far gone, especially in places like New York City, where there's so many really bad crimes, like really bad assaults or robberies, like especially where I work, like robberies are a huge thing. A lot of people get robbed. Now you put a gun into that mix of like the civilian, law-abiding civilian has that gun. Now you're gonna have a lot of shootings, and then like I don't know. I think
it might make people think twice about robbing.
It might.
It's like,
shit.
Shit.
It might, but I think that there would probably be a lot of shootings.
Yeah.
And then like slowly that would taper off as people realized or that like all the
just
criminals are getting
killed. I can't just go John Wick on everything. You're right. Because you're gonna be in a 7-Eleven. He's gonna the good guy might just might try and fire his weapon into a crowd of 5, right, and hit somebody else.
There was a few years ago. There was a like a little deli that got robbed. Like like an EDP jumped on a fucking with a knife, jumped on like the fucking counter and like tried to like slice the guy who owned the shop, and he pulled out he had a gun legally, and he shot the guy in the face, killed him. Yeah. So,
good for him.
I mean, like, but like, my
America.
point is like, you're right.
Yeah, well,
the point is like, there are people in the city that have legally possessed firearms
it's
who actually
very far
use
and
them
few.
the proper way, and it like that could have saved his life.
I think if you go through the process of getting a permit, getting a background check, in my opinion, just a normal civilian, that it's not the person you should be worried about.
Oh yeah,
you know,
yeah, it's not. If you do everything the right way and they're law abiding, you're not the issue, right?
I just think that the laws need to really reflect a little bit more of, and I'm going to actually use this phrase in the way it's supposed to be, common sense, as opposed to the way the anti-gun, people use it. Oh, we need common sense gun control. Really, you just want to take all my shit. And really, like, for example, I don't know if you guys heard, but the biggest news story the other day was Lady Gaga's dog walker got shot and her dogs got robbed. It was all over the newspapers, and I feel bad for the guy because it was in California.
No, you know what's fucked up about the whole thing is that Lady Gaga like came out and she offered a $500,000
fucking million.
No,
$500,000
sorry, yeah,
$500,000 reward
Yeah, my bad.
for the return of the dog.
Jesus.
How about the fucking guy who got shot? How about $500,000 reward for fucking information for this fucking poor guy who wants your dog?
That dude, I didn't read the article, but
Nah.
like Tom's girlfriend fucking like I think read it, so she mentioned it. Like that dude wasn't just her dog walker. I think he was like her assistant.
Yeah.
So she better pay his fucking bills and
That's
take,
what I'm
take
saying.
care of him. Like
Right.
Oh, yeah.
he better not be on
Right.
hook for any of that shit.
Right.
He took a bullet for your fucking
Four.
dogs.
He got shot 4 times.
Yeah.
4? Yeah.
Yeah.
And is he still critical? Is he all right?
I have no idea.
Regardless, he got shot for your goddamn dogs, Lady Gaga.
Right. Did
Hook
you
the
see
dude
that? I
up.
saw the video of like it was like there's
I
like
didn't
ring
see the
there's
video.
like ring doorbell camera footage of it, and the guy's like just screaming like shit like over fucking dogs.
Well, those dogs are expensive. I mean, no, I'm not. I'm not giving
like take them, bro. Like
They're
they're
not your
all
dogs.
yours.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I didn't
Fuck
see.
it.
I didn't
Like-
see the video, but did the guy just like come up and shoot him and take the dogs, or did he like? Was there
It went
a
on
scuffle?
for like maybe 15-20 seconds. So I think they
mean,
probably
honestly,
tried to
maybe the
take the
guy-
dogs. He was like, no, you can't take the dogs. All right, fuck it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
dude,
but
just fucking give the dogs up.
Yeah.
Fuck
They're not
it.
your dogs.
Fucking dogs.
Lady
Yeah.
Gaga can buy fucking new dogs, guys.
Facts.
Yeah. I don't know, but that's the whole thing. If that guy, let's just say, had a firearm on him, would the situation have changed?
Of course it would have.
I mean,
Yeah.
well,
Action versus reaction too is a big deal, right?
Right.
So
Sure.
like, yeah, the bad guy's gonna have his gun drawn, but he doesn't expect you to have a weapon,
Right.
So it's gonna take him more time to realize you already drew and fired, right? So
Right.
yeah, that guy could have saved Lady Gaga's dogs.
well, no, but just
Well,
even
he
his
could have
life.
also saved himself from
Yeah,
getting
no,
shot.
I know that was a
mean,
joke, guys.
Right.
Yeah. Fuck those dogs. I'm gonna get sued by Lady Gaga.
Yeah,
Lady Gaga's gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
I hope
No,
so.
Fuck.
I hope so. Maybe we'll be in some sort of
No.
I mean, God forbid she listens and she's like, "You don't listen to Gun Guy podcast or whatever." But maybe like, any press is good press, right? So then people are gonna listen now, just like, what did
maybe
they
she's
say?
a really big gun enthusiast. Like I don't
This
know.
will be I doubt that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, this is it, guys. You guys are about to jump into the deep end.
Come
with
on,
fucking
she went
social
out
media.
and she fucking she like did like commercials for
Oh
Uncle
yeah,
Joe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
creepy,
she loves
creepy
Uncle Joe. Yeah. She looks
Yeah.
so uncomfortable in that fucking in that video.
Every
She-
girl that Joe's next to looks uncomfortable.
vote for Joe.
I'm gonna write a song about this. Yeah.
Vote for Joe.
I mean, it's just the usual. You know what our thoughts on our current president are.
I hope he does very well, but he's probably not gonna.
You know what the whole thing is, man? It's like, okay.
I mean,
he
I
was-
hope he does well.
Yeah,
I
he was
you don't want
elected.
the country to be bad.
Of
so
course,
that's fair.
of course.
We want America to always prosper. I don't think he was the right person for the job, but
Yeah.
you know what?
I always say I vote for policy. I don't necessarily vote for the person. I just didn't support
Right.
his views.
Oh,
like
God,
that's it.
no.
So
no.
it's not that. I mean, people will be like, "Oh, you fucking you suck Trump's dick." Like I've heard people say that. It's like, no, that's not at all what it is. Like if Trump had a different name and was a different person but the same policy, I would have voted for him.
Yeah, or if he didn't have social media, people would have liked him better, probably. Or,
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everything now is about emotion and feelings and
Yeah.
doing things because, it's the perceived right thing to do, or the
Sure.
mob goes after you for not raising a fist or not putting a hashtag
Sure,
on, or,
sure.
it's just the world we live in nowadays, and especially
Right.
applicable to firearms ownership and rights, which some people seem to think that gun ownership is mostly only a conservative thing, but it applies to everyone. Whether you're left, right, center, every American has this right, and most people only view it as a partisan issue, which
Sure.
I hope people are starting to realize, like, hey, that needs to change. That's just my opinion on
Well, I
it.
think it's very much out there. It might not be as partisan as you think, or as it seems to be, but that's just what is like thrown up on the news all the time.
Yeah,
It's
there's like
left
groups like
versus
liberal
right.
gun owners. Like there's groups like
Of
that.
course.
But again, it's like I just find it really ironic that
You could be liberal and still want
Oh,
your
yeah.
rights.
Yeah.
You know?
of course.
Absolutely.
But I just find that the left votes for these people that want to take away your rights. So it's kind of like a little bit of an oxymoron.
But
to me.
I think that they're not one issue voters. They're
No,
not
they're
voting
not.
based on that. So like their overall picture of what they believe
Right.
falls into that category, and so they vote for that person.
Yep.
You know.
They'll be fine with a musket. You know what I mean?
So like the overall scope, right? The overall scope of like what for me, like what the right represents more conforms. Like I could
You jive more with the right.
right. So I may not agree with everything that they say.
Sure.
Definitely don't have to agree with everything Trump has to say.
No.
But
And you don't even agree with anything anyone ever says, right?
Right.
But
Exactly.
the majority of
But you get painted as that.
They're not
you
a
know.
demigod. They're
Right.
not some
Yeah.
sort of savior.
Right.
you're allowed to be one way or the other, left or right.
Right.
And then like certain policies from each side, right? So,
Sure.
like, whatever.
Oh, speaking of, just kind of segueing into this now. I know we were going to end it, but this is an important question. A lot of police departments, a lot of federal agencies, a lot of even fire departments are coming under fire for, let's just say, their support or let's just say political kind of views. On a federal level, you guys kind of have to remain apolitical, right?
Yeah, military and federal law enforcement's the same way. Yeah,
Okay.
apolitical.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's with us. I mean,
Right.
Especially where I work in a liberal city, we're expected to not have an opinion at all in uniform.
Right.
You know, I think I'm not really. I try and stay as like level as possible for the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, you don't say anything too crazy.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
your
well,
own opinion.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there was recently there was a sergeant who was caught on film. I don't know if you saw. She had like a Trump vest sticker or whatever, and she got like I don't know. She got disciplined for that. Whatever. But at the same time, you have people like the chief of department who's now retiring, Terrence Monahan, who was like kneeling in solidarity with Black Lives Matter protesters. You know, so
That
it's
to
like
me is a political
that's
statement.
a huge
Yeah,
political
but
statement, but it's a
there's always-
political statement that feeds into what
An
what
agenda
the
or
Yeah,
what
it
the
supports the
department
gender of the
believes, right.
narrative. Yeah,
Right.
so that's
So-
why no one says a thing. Yeah.
Right. So it's like it's silly double standards like that where people who are like the sergeant who wears the Trump shit, it's like, well, you know, like I like fuck them. Like if they're gonna do that shit, then I'm gonna do what I
Right.
want. And yeah, it is what it is. I mean, she didn't get fired or anything for it. She
No,
probably
but
got like a fucking she
but it's
probably got a few
unnecessary.
hours or
Slap on the wrist.
Right, yeah.
Administratively.
Had to watch some BS training about how to be, less of a certain ethnicity.
Did you?
No,
she-
no,
Oh, God.
I don't think-
fuck no.
I don't think she wasn't white. I don't think so.
I just find it funny that a lot of these companies now, or there's things being leaked, like Coca-Cola. They had that training
Woca-Cola?
thing. Yeah, Coca-Cola.
That's good. I knew they did that, but I didn't hear that phrase. That was
That's
good.
right. Coca-Cola.
That
That's
is
a good
funny.
one. I never
Yeah,
heard
that's
that.
good.
Yeah,
gonna use that when I get home.
Try to be less white.
I talk to Tom.
Yeah. It's just, these companies, in my opinion, are bending to the social justice mob. I mean, obviously, like, look, we want things to be more diverse and inclusive. Yeah. Like discrimination, like the civil rights and all that happened. The civil rights movement happened. I'm not downplaying it at all, but I'm just trying not to get too much into it. But I think in 2021 now, I mean, anybody can go buy a house. Anybody can get a job. Like where we are in America are leaps and bounds from what we used to be. And that's progress. That's change. That's what's going to happen. But people still kind of living in the past and people still thinking that rights don't apply to them because the woke mob told them so or that they need to feel oppressed feed into a lot of this. Don, do you have anything else you want to say?
I mean, just sum it up in like real quick sentence. So, doesn't matter if it's a rifle or pistol, right? Just practice makes perfect, right? Slow, steady, smooth, fast, all that bullshit. But just be familiar with whatever weapon system you have, right? So, if you have a weapon, go to the range, practice firing, practice your trigger press, practice reloading your weapon, practice taking it apart, practice cleaning it. Just know what weapon you're using, right? And familiar with it.
No matter if it's a compliant gun, a modern gun, an old gun,
Any weapon in general.
Yeah.
And then if you want to get into like CQB type stuff, just practice, right? Or home defense, right? And you want to like, someone's knocking on my door, just practice like drawing your weapon and shit like that.
Have a plan.
Yeah, have a plan and just practice and be familiar with it. So, God forbid you actually have to use your weapon, and the first time you're actually firing real rounds is when it counts and you miss, or you know what I mean. So just be ready.
Yeah. Don't be like those people who don't keep their magazines loaded.
Oh God.
When we were talking to Lisa about that, she was saying that like she trains people basically, and
Lisa's a female fire instructor. She's the head of an all-female women's gun club.
Right.
She trains people, NRA certified. That's
really nice person.
Yeah, really
and she
good.
was telling us that like she has had conversations with people who like buy guns for home defense, but are like scared of them, and basically like they leave the gun like on their table or whatever, and then they leave like the empty magazine with like the box of ammunition.
Oh no!
Like in the drawer,
Oh,
and like
my God.
their plan is like I will load the magazine. Like,
God.
you know, it's hard enough. Like if you left your magazine out, it's hard enough in that time. Like finding your magazine, finding your gun, putting it in, racking it
Had
while
your
you're
hands
thinking,
shaking while you're trying to pick up
it's
rounds.
just not
Fuck
even.
that.
Yeah, so I mean, like,
Don't do that.
don't do that. And it's not an official position, just in my opinion. You should probably have the magazine in your weapon loaded and one in the chamber.
Yeah.
And then,
Right.
if you're worried about it, put it in a gun safe or something,
Yeah.
and just have like a really quick code so you can pop it open and if you need to use it,
Fingerprint, electronic,
whatever.
yeah.
But
Right.
like, and have it in a holster too, maybe, so you're not gonna actually put your finger in the trigger well and fire
Right.
a weapon. But
Right.
definitely have it ready to go when it counts.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, right
And,
on.
and also, thanks for having me, guys. I had a lot of fun today.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
We've been
We'll have you
trying to
back.
do this for a while. Schedules just didn't line up.
We're all very
and,
busy. And we all don't have
yeah,
weekends
maybe
off.
we'll have Tom on at one point to get his perspective on things as well.
We're twins, right? And we know each other for our entire lives. Like,
Yeah.
we can just read each other's minds and just play off each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, his brother's also a federal agent as well, and has a
Yeah.
lot of similar life
Right,
experience
right.
that he does as well. So that'd be interesting.
Was he also in the military? He was,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we did
So you
everything.
guys did everything together.
literally, dude,
That's fucking crazy.
on paper, we're almost the same person.
Were you
right?
in the same?
Yeah, we're
right,
both
different. Yeah,
We're both at drum together. We're both
Right.
like the same MOS.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
crazy.
Like, yeah, it's-
You went through the same academy together, right?
yeah. We were 2 months apart, so we had the same instructors.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
Which fuck, like, oh my god, there's
That
fucking
had to
two
be
of them.
fuck with them. Yeah.
Yeah, because
That's
I
awesome.
mean, I had to be on my best behavior when I was at the academy, but I was still me, right? So
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm still very, very
Sure.
kind of loud, and
Very
opinionated.
real.
Yeah,
You
Yeah.
could have definitely made just a ruckus and then been like, no, it was Tom.
Oh, yeah, no,
My name's Tom.
I made a little bit of ruckus, and they were not happy with me.
Yeah, of course.
But
all
and
good.
Tom's like even louder, right? A little more
Oh,
outgoing than I
God,
am.
right,
So
right, right.
yeah.
Yeah, we've
yeah.
known each other for a very long
Yeah.
time.
But I had a great time, you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
thanks
thanks
for
for
having us on.
coming.
Well, we want to do some range trips and stuff, and also maybe if you can come as well, and not be on camera or anything, but just to like give some training tips or whatever, things like
Taylor
that.
likes the camera. He likes being on camera.
I mean, I don't mind it. I really
Definitely
like
loves
it.
it.
I don't
Yeah,
like being.
It
on
gives a
camera.
different element to what you're talking about when you can actually explain something to somebody.
Well, the biggest thing is I told him like when we go, we have to do some some quick little videos because we have, like I said, like 430 something people who like the
Facebook
page, but like
Yeah.
we don't have 430 like
Listeners?
listener per
For podcast?
per release. Like
Right.
we have like almost like 4,500 actual like downloads, but we don't have like. It's like 100 views per episode.
Yeah.
And it should be like 400 views if we have 400
Yeah,
people.
because the analytics don't match up with what's
Right, pretty much.
Right.
So I think a lot of people they like the page. They're interested in supporting, but they don't have time or they don't realize it's a podcast. I like fucking pages. I don't know what the fuck they are. So
yeah,
I told him we'll have to put his ugly mug up there.
I don't mind.
He's gonna scare everyone away,
I'm
probably.
not that ugly.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well,
You might want to do like a poll to see which one of you would test better,
Yeah.
or like use Tom or I and just
I
like,
wear a
what's
Nixon mask or
catfish him
something.
You're gonna wear what?
A Nixon mask or something like old school. Like
Yeah,
you know.
we're doing like what's that movie? Swayze and Keanu.
I don't know.
Robbing the Banks. What's it
I'm
called?
terrible with movies. Oh, Point Break.
Yeah, but Point Break. I'm there.
whatever you do, don't wear a red hat.
Yeah. Well,
It doesn't even matter what's written on it.
Right.
Anymore. If it's just fucking red.
people just get triggered.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I mean, not related to
Triggered.
politics, but I was a huge Limp Bizkit fan, right? So I still have my red Yankees hat.
Oh yeah. Nowadays,
Yeah, exactly. But
is that a Mac? No,
You
it's
gotta
the
be
Yankees.
careful. You gotta be careful what
Then
you
I
wear.
like
in a hat.
baseball.
no, I like new metal, and I was a Limp
Yes.
Bizkit fan. Fred
Right,
Durst was my
yes.
boy.
I was online doing the early voting because I wasn't gonna have time to vote on because I was working. And there was a guy in front of me. He had a red hat on. I was like, "Oh, this guy, Trump supporter." When I got closer, I saw his hat was like, "I made you look." Like he's like, "I made you look."
He's
like
trolling.
fuck Trump. I was like, "Okay,
All right. Whatever.
cool, good for you, bro.
All right.
Happy for you." But all right, guys, that's all we have time for today. It's New York Gun Guys. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, NYGunGuys, all one word. Check us out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Podbean if you are boycotting the big tech companies because they don't want you to have any freedom of speech. Thank you, Don, for coming.
Yes. Thanks.
Taylor,
Yeah,
thanks
thanks,
for
guys.
coming. Steve doesn't have a mic, but thanks for coming.
Thanks for sitting there.
Yeah, thanks for looking at the levels and making sure they're all good.
Yeah.
All right, guys, and thanks for tuning in. And as always, be safe.